All right, we are live. Another Wednesday night, Hellabass live. What's up, Matt? How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
So I don't know if people don't know. It's Matt Strykul? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
You nailed it. Very rare.
But
very rare.
Most people know you as SBFishingTV on YouTube.
Yeah, that's correct.
What's with the? Is that Strykul Brothers? Is that what the SB is?
Yeah, yeah. My brother Ace and I started it back in 2016, and that was probably the hardest thing, is trying to come up with a name. We were like, what do we call it? And then it just kind of settled on that. It was the best thing we could come up with, and then it just stuck.
I guess I've watched a fair amount of your videos. I guess I never realized Ace was your brother. I just thought he was like your buddy. I mean, obviously your brother is your buddy, but like,
of course, yeah, he's my brother, and it was something that we hoped to, do together. But he also has 2 kids now and 1 on the way. So at the time, it was like very difficult. He had full-time job and his daughter, and then had a son, and then it's like hard to do what I do in that situation.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's just what we were talking about earlier. It's like, kind of hand in hand. It's a very difficult thing, but no kids for me, so I kind of just took it and ran, and he was cool with it. He's very supportive of it. So
absolutely. So we get too far. Hey, everybody in chat, let us know how's the sound, how the video. It seems pretty good on my end, but just want to make sure it's good for everybody else before we get like down some rabbit hole and everybody's like, we can't hear you, and there's an echo. Looks like Darius says it's good. Hard-hitting question right off the gate. AP Fishing wants to know what happened to the Bite podcast.
The Bite podcast. So, I mean, I'm in a text chat group with all the guys. We're all still very cool. We still talk on a daily basis. The podcast just got to be a bit difficult for everybody to meet up because my brother Ace lives in Winchester, Virginia, which is like an hour and 20 minutes from Billy's, where we have the podcast. Matt and Tyler lived probably an hour away from there. I live in Richmond now, which is an hour and a half. Everybody's really far. To get everybody together, it's just a difficult thing to do every week. And then on top of that, Billy was taking care of literally all the editing. We did it at his house. He had all the equipment. He's a good dude, great dude, and he never complained about it or anything, but it definitely got to be difficult to do. And then coronavirus and all that happened, and it was like, should we be meeting up? Like, we don't really know what's going on, and there's a bunch of stuff. But I think we'll probably end up getting some things going again for sure. Like, we're all very close buddies, so we text on a daily basis.
This StreamYard platform might be the answer to your this right here. What we're doing could be a good way for you to do that.
That is not a bad idea,
because like this has a super slick like download audio or video, and like, so you can do it offline or you can do it online, and it's super simple. I actually put mine into a podcast form as well, just as like a offshoot of this. So it could be.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we got nothing but positive comments and support for that podcast, which when we started, we were like, we have no idea how it's going to go. We'll see. But it's it's something that people like to listen to. There's such a lack of fishing podcasts out there. I mean, I know of Casting Crank. That's probably actually, I listen to Casting Crank pretty frequently. He has a lot of awesome guests on there, and they do a great job.
Actually, a plethora of podcasts.
Are there really?
For fishing? Yeah.
Like, if I look at Spotify right now, will like a bunch of them pop up?
I think so. You might be surprised, especially like about the time you stopped doing it.
Did it like blow up?
Like, everybody's like, I'm at home. I've got time to start a podcast.
Well, now I feel like an idiot, but yeah.
Before we get too far, I just want to thank Arsenal Fishing for supporting the show and the channel. Obviously, it allows us to do more of these streams, do more videos, do more stuff. So if you guys want to support the channel, you guys can support Arsenal Fishing. You'll see the code scrolling down there below, and Omnia Fishing as well. But so that's the housekeeping of the evening. Will Brown says, "What up, Matt?" So I don't know, just give us like 2 minutes on yourself and what you're all about, and then we'll get into maybe in just more general stuff.
Sure, yeah. My name is Matt Strykul. I'm the owner. I run SB Fishing TV. I never really know how to explain that. I have the YouTube channel SB Fishing TV, but I'm pretty much obsessed with fishing. I love to do it. I'm absolutely addicted to fishing, which is how I started doing this YouTube channel. It was like, I'm not good enough to be a professional angler. I'm not good enough to be a guide, but I might be able to do this YouTube thing because I got a little bit of video editing experience. I know how to work a GoPro and I can make fishing videos, and like, I'll see how far I can take it. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon that. And I've been very fortunate, and it's worked out, and kind of the stars kind of aligned to grow it to the size that it is. And now I'm here on this podcast having a great time.
Yeah, and now you've made it officially because you're on Hellabass Live. So
that's, I mean, you know what? I think you're 100% right.
What's up, Jay? Good to see you tonight. I don't know been fishing the
pabiffles. I want to say my buddy Alex, or God Gills,
is that the BFLs? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, the PBFLs. Yeah, the Phoenix BFLs.
Okay.
I think him and Tyler are fishing them this year. I didn't jump into them, but it was definitely a thought. I fished the Open. That was a lot of fun. Ended up fishing that as a co-angler, but
nice.
It was cool.
Yeah, it's been a few years. I loved it. I used to fish the Great Lakes Division a little bit up here in the Mississippi River, which was a ton of fun. I have a hard time fitting it in my schedule. Yeah, Corey. Yeah, I think this will be a good show. I think it'll be fun. John, I think if you keep tuning in, yes, we can all suck less a little more at fishing. It'll be good.
I love that tagline, by the way. Just suck less.
Yeah, and it's like, so like I don't usually talk, like I was about to do a video about like what does it mean to suck less at fishing. And what that means, if you think about it, we all suck pretty bad at fishing. Whether it's you, me, Jacob Wheeler, Kevin Van Dam, Jordan Lee, like we say, let's like make 1,000 casts all day. We probably catch, like, on a good day, 20 fish. That's like a 0.02 percentage of, like, right? Like if you're a baseball player, you are literally the worst baseball player ever in the world if you're like the best bass fisherman. And so what it means to suck less is if you can get like a bite on 100% more, or a 10th% more of your cast, that's exponentially better. So if we all just suck less a little bit, fishing gets so much better.
I love that. That's hilarious. That's pretty much every tournament by like 1 or 2 o'clock. My brother and I have a joke. It's like we just look at each other and just go, dude, let's just fish better.
Yeah, let's just start catching them.
Let's just fish better, bro. There's a super throwback here. I used to rollerblade like pretty competitively, like travel around the country and go to all these skate parks and compete in these tournament or competitions or whatever. But there was a Disney show called Brink back in the day, and there was a point where he's like skating in a competition, he's doing really bad, and like one of his friends comes up to him, he's like, man, just skate better. He's just oh my god, that's all I gotta do, I just gotta skate better. So we kind of took it from that, just turned it into fish better. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like right along the lines of suck less, which is why I like that so much.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. What's up, Mike? Good to see you on here. Oh, so we'll get into what are we going to talk about tonight? I got a few things. We're going to definitely spend some time talking about big baits and swim baits, because I've watched some of your videos and your channel, and you do pretty good, and you got some nice fish catches, and you got some cool baits. We're definitely going to talk about that, and you've definitely had some success. I think we'll talk about some of the Jon Boat stuff, because that's something we don't talk about a lot, is like your Jon Boat tournaments, and then you've got a few boat restoration projects that are worth discussing that you have in process and that you've done in the past, and then maybe just like some of your tournaments and travel, and then just getting into all kinds of things. I'm pretty sure he's not Debo's little brother.
Who's Debo?
Debo's a guy, content creator out of Iowa. He actually has 100,000 subs. There's like,
you know what? I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he does a lot of unboxing and gear reviews and things like that. So it's cool dude. But So you mentioned, I was going to talk about the James, and you've got a couple practice videos. So you did end up getting in as a co. You hopped over to even out the field a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't fish it as a boater, so I was like, a little bummed out by it, but I didn't want to miss out on all the action.
Right.
It's one of those things where like it was very last minute when I signed up, and I told myself, well, like I really want to do this. Don't care if I can't get in as a boater. I want to get in the action regardless. So I called up the tournament director and I was like, man, can I fish as a co-angler? He was like, sure, no problem. Like, that's fine. He was completely busy with the whole gas shortage thing that was going on.
Right.
Like when I called in, it sounded like they were having a hell of a time. Like it was nuts. But he was like, dude, yeah, sure, no problem. What's your name? Let me switch you over. But he was really nice about it and he helped me out. So it worked out.
Nice. Any good experience there? Like, do you have any interesting draws, or how did it go? I mean, without spoiling the video that's probably coming out in the next day or so. But
it'll be out tomorrow. It's funny. I just uploaded it actually. Day one was very difficult on me. It was tough. I was fishing behind good fishermen, and we were basically fishing isolated cypress trees, pulling up, pulling down. He's fishing them. I did pretty poor. Second day, phenomenal day. I drew a local angler named Steve Colgan. He works here at a local shop called Green Tops. And I mean, I want to say he's 60 and he grew up here on the Chickahominy River. Nice. So he fished the James and Chick his whole life. I mean, he showed me around. He taught me how to get in and out of places I was curious about, how to run. And he put me on fish all day. We just had fun. I wasn't expecting really anything, but it was just a fun day all around. He was such a good dude. Just one of those people that you get on the boat with and you shoot the shit and have an amazing time all day. So it was great. It was really great.
You both have a good time. You learn something, and that's
Dude, he had a 6 pound. It was probably 5.5 or 6 pounds. It was awesome. We were leaving a spot. We were going to make a run probably 15 minutes back up toward Richmond and finish up around there. And we're running out of there full speed. And he comes off pad and he goes, hang on, I just want to fish this one tree real quick. I was like, okay, cool. He pulls up, first cast with his crankbait, catches, like he hooks into this giant fish. It gets wrapped up in the tree. Neither of us saw it. I think he probably had it stuck for probably 20 or 30 seconds. And then it pops free and it comes up. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a giant. And he ended up catching it, but kept his cool. Beautiful fish. I think it was, I want to say it was 5.5 pounds, but definitely an awesome experience.
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So what's going on in the chat here? James says, I think he must be talking about your house, because I don't know who James is.
I don't know who that is either. No, I'm just kidding. That's my buddy James Kelly, who came on the 50 state tour trip with me.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, he's making fun of me because I have these old headphones, and he was always letting me use his. He has some very nice Bose, like
nice, super
nice, high quality headphones. He's been busting my chops about it for years.
Yeah, cool. Logan just bopped in. He just watched the Sobe. I'm amazing. Like Sobe's work ethic. Like we fished a Tuesday night tourney last night, and we had 3 cameras going, and he got there and he had drone footage and all kinds of stuff, and we didn't leave the parking lot. I left at like 10:30, and he was still like putting stuff away, and he lives like half an hour, 45 minutes from there, and he had a fully high-end video out 6 p.m. tonight with teasers on Instagram and like just like it's like, man, that's
he's
awesome.
A beast, man.
Yeah.
But Sobe is a beast, and he's like one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. Sure. He's a great dude.
And what I tell people is like he is the exact same dude on the camera as he's off the camera. He's 100% genuine.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But yeah, so like after this stream, go check that out. He killed it, that video for sure. So
I definitely will. Yeah, that's I'm looking forward to it. That'll be cool.
Just in general. Yeah, Thomas, good stuff. Glad you're enjoying Omnia, and I'm glad I help people and like find out about them, and you don't have to wait 3 weeks or pay $11 to get your stuff. So pro. Yeah, I see. Yeah, watched a lot, wearing a lot of Gill gear these days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're hooking it up. I guess we can call it pro staff kind of deal.
A brand ambassador.
Brand ambassador. I don't actually. I'm so terrible with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would want me to explain it, but I am working with Gill. They hooked me up with a full rain suit, bibs, jacket. It's super nice, high quality. One thing I will say, I'd never used their product before. And when they reached out, I was like, you can send me something and I'll try it out. And if I like it, we can talk further. Like I really do stand behind, like I need to see it. I need to try it. I can't just take some like company's word and be like, yeah, no problem. Like I'll take your money and like promote this to everybody. It's definitely not my style. Like I truly use all of my gear and I beat the hell out of it. And I want to make sure that that it will last me. That's the biggest thing. It's like, how can I push something on someone that I can't even use for 2 months? So
yeah,
I'm pretty stoked on those really
even
nice gear.
Companies I work with, if they come out with something new, like I'm gonna use it for at least a week or two. Like I mean, if it's like it's a bait or a tool or a scissors, I'm gonna at least give it like a week of like using it before I'm gonna be like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Right. Absolutely. No, I'm the exact same way, and that's how I think it should be. You know, it's I don't know. Yeah, it's really nice stuff though. I like it.
Oh yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. It seems genuine. And you know, good sun gear is. I mean, I'm just a huge I pretty much my like summer apparel is my Arsenal hooded lightweight sun shirts. Like that's all I wear. Like that's
what I told him too. I was like, if you guys want to send me a bunch of your UV tech hoodies, like I'm set. I don't need anything else. Yeah. That's all I wear. I'll wear some really light pants or shorts and a sun hoodie every day.
Yeah. Give me one hoodie, one pair of long pants, and 17 sun shirts.
That's what I told him. I'm not even joking.
Hoodie,
I was like, yeah. And I think that's what I got one hoodie, and I think I got 15 sun shirts coming. I was like, I need about 2 weeks worth of clothes in case I go on a trip and I don't want to wash it, like so I can just run through them. But that's literally what I wear. My girlfriend hates me for it. She's like, dude, you look like a nerd. But I
don't know. If he needs a sub, I'm in. But otherwise, if Brock and Bart are in town, I'm sure they're going to fill the bill. So cool. Good stuff. Well, let's see. Well, guys that are here, let's hit the thumbs up. Maybe share it out a little bit. Let's get a few more people in here before we start talking about like the juicy big bait stuff that we really want to talk about. So, yeah, I think the first time I like found your channel was, I think YouTube recommended, was like the fall of 2019 when you guys had your year-end Jon Boat championship. When you guys crushed them, the classic, and like
dude, you got so lucky. Yeah. You got so lucky for 2 days in a row. Chances of that are so slim, but we did it. You know, that's the way things go sometimes.
Yeah, that was a sweet video. Those couple videos. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Man, this guy's in a van. He's got a sweet Jon Boat. And I was like, man, if I wouldn't have like met my wife in college, I'd probably be a guy living in a van down by the river fishing every day.
If you like to fish, there's really no better way. I'm serious, like it's awesome. Crash wherever you can and fish wherever you want. Kind of chase the bite.
Yeah, 100%. Like we were talking before the show. Like I'm a big, I don't know. I like being like out camping in the back of my Tahoe, hooked up to my boat, and staying at campgrounds, and like that's, I don't know. It fits my vibe. Thomas said it was the rod and reel arsenal that YouTube put in front of him. He was in.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Thomas. I think I have a couple up there. Maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
None of it's changed. Like it's all, I have a smorgasbord of rods. I don't have all the same anything. Yeah.
I've noticed you kind of adding a few more Dobbins more and more.
No, I mean, those are, they're probably my favorite rods that I've fished, and I'm trying to switch over to like all Dobbins at some point, but I mean, they're super nice.
Yeah, I'm a big. I had a bad customer experience with G Loomis when Shimano bought them, and I like garage saled all my Loomises and slowly switched over to Dobbins from there on out. So,
what do you? So you're pretty happy with them as well, then?
Yeah, I've got like 30 of them.
Oh,
my rod and reel arsenal had to be a 4-part series.
That's a lot. That's a lot of rods. I think I have maybe. Someone asked me this the other day. I think I have 10 or 12 full combos, like ready to go. It's light. I think it's light. Yeah,
that is
for sure. I wish I had more. Honestly, I do need to get everything.
Considering you probably will have like 2 or 3 big bait rods.
2.
Yeah. So that means like you have like 8 or 10 like regular rods.
Yeah, that sounds about right. If something breaks, I probably have, we'll say I have 15 to 20 rods, but like fully ready to go setups at all times is like 12.
Right.
So if I broke something, I'll switch it out with something else and go from there. But I definitely need to update that rod arsenal and just like switch over to Dobbins completely.
A DC trip, was that to Potomac, or was it something else in DC?
Oh yeah, that's my buddy Andrew. We fished up in DC. That's right. Fished like up above the Wilson Bridge. Caught a bunch and had a couple of real. I had one giant. I think it was like 6.5 pounds or close to 7 on a chatterbait, and it's in some of the most like ridiculous places you could imagine. Super dangerous to be getting your boat around. You really have to know how to navigate it up there. And it's sketchy. Like,
yeah,
it looks like wide open water, but it can be 3 feet with an old bridge pilings going 50 yards off the bank.
Nice.
That kind of stuff. It's just super
I found some sketchy water last Sunday on the Mississippi River. Took out my skeg on my.
Oh, damn. Did you really? How fast were you going?
Probably like 35 or 40.
That's terrifying to me. I don't know. I'm always like way overly cautious in any area. I don't know where I'm at. I'm like, you know what? I'll just idle through this, or I'll drop the trolling motor down and fish if it looks good. But
I had probably run it 10 times before. The water was just a little lower, and it finally.
I understand.
The calculated risk, the odds finally fell in the wrong. The odds were forever not in my favor there.
That's too funny. That sucks. Right. Are you going to replace it with, like, are you getting someone to weld another skeg?
Yeah, now that I'm done with my week-long 10-day bass and bender, like I wasn't going to get it fixed. I was like, I have a whole week to fish.
It still works.
So, yeah. So this week I'll probably drop it off and get the skeg welded and the prop fixed again. So
nice.
I did the same thing last October. So
damn,
I think it literally cracked in the same place where it got welded.
So you just cracked the previous weld off? So
I'm pretty sure
you're getting a new one.
It looks exactly the same. I could go back and look at the Instagram pictures, and it looked like the same break.
That is too funny. Did you spin the hub on your prop as well, or no?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Bent all 4 ears though. So.
Oh, that's not fun. What is your boat setup? And what are you?
So I got a 2005 Pantera Classic with a 200 EFI on it.
Sick.
So
very nice.
I wish it was an Opti, but it's an EFI. But.
This is all so new to me. Like I just got this old Gambler, and I've been spending the majority of my days like just looking through Gambler groups, or like it just bass boat information in general, and like really learning about props and motors and anything I can get my hands on. Basically, it's really interesting to me, and it's new. So, yeah, all that stuff is crazy. And like I've already had to change the prop on mine, like randomly one day, just running down the channel. It didn't hit anything. The hub on the prop just went randomly, but got it fixed.
All right.
The snow plowing video is what sold me. That is funny. Years ago, yeah, I used to do that as a little side gig. I had my cousin's friend like won a bid through VDOT Department of Transportation, and he had 2 or 3 plow trucks. So in the winter, if it snowed, he'd call me up and I would go drive for $30 an hour, 12-hour shifts, make quick $400 or $500, whatever it was. It was perfect.
Sweet. Well, let's maybe start talking about some big baits. So John says, what's your favorite budget big swim bait and what setup are you using it on?
Favorite budget big swim bait?
So let's say budget. Let's set the budget. Let's say I would say less than $40 is a budget swim bait. How's that?
Less than $40. Okay. Before we get into all of this, I do want to put a quick disclaimer up here. Okay. I'm still even new to throwing big baits. Sure. I'm not like super experienced in it. I have learned pretty quickly through fishing with my buddy Billy, because he is like very into it. He understands it a lot more than me. And being someone that I fish with all the time, it was like, all right, damn, I see this work, so I'm going to have to try it out. And he's kind of like really gotten me onto it. And any questions that I've ever had and, you know, new baits that I've thrown have definitely been his doing. So now that that's out there, budget swim bait. Actually, I did pretty good on the Savage Gear Shine Glide. Sure. Yeah, I think that one's great. Did very well on that. And I think you can get, I mean, those go on sale for what?
Those are pretty cheap. I want to say those are like
25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might even be like $18.99 or $21. I mean, they're not like, they're for sure. And they're not, I don't know, they make a bigger one and they're not huge either, the Shine Glide, right? They're not, do they make a big one?
I don't think that they make like a huge one, but I would say it's, I really can't even remember the size of it right now, because it's, I want to say they put the measurement out in millimeters, right? It's like it's like a 6-inch bait.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was thinking 6-inch, which is substantial. I mean, like in the big bite game, not big. Yeah, they're like, the 3D Shine Glide is $19 to $25.
Yeah, that's not bad. No, it's not bad at all. That's like I think that's a great entry level swim bait too, or glide bait. We'll say if you really want to try to throw a glide bait around and it's your first bigger bait. Also, not something that's going to be super intimidating too. Yeah, it's a great choice.
Yeah, like that's not. Yeah, the 5 1/4 is kind of small, but the 7 1/4 is probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one that I've thrown.
Yeah, and it's not like a huge, heavy, like big pro. It's not two ounces, right? So it's not massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's still, I mean, it's still one of those bigger baits though, where it's like if you're coming from conventional tackle and you're used to tournament fishing or even, you know, bank fishing or just fishing in general, and you haven't thrown any big baits, that's a good one just to get your feet wet, to have on the deck and throw around, or even spend full days of throwing.
Yeah. And like the thing, like for the price of a mega bass, you can have a pretty solid little glide bait, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I think.
What's up,
yeah,
Tom?
that's definitely a good choice.
From DreamSmasher hanging out. How's it going?
Go, Tom. Big fan of Tom's baits, by the way. Actually, I got 2 of them right here. I was gonna share with on the show if you asked anything about my favorite soft plastic swim baits. For sure. The DreamSmashers are amazing. These things are dope. Really like the new packaging, by the way, too.
Nice.
Looks great.
I got a handful. Like this is not a big bait, but I've caught a lot of good fish on that little gill. So Tom is actually a buddy of mine as well. He actually, we spent some time together in the same bass club for a few years. So
nice. Very cool. Yeah, Tom's a great dude. He's helped me out quite a bit. Me and Billy both. And Billy's the one that got me on his baits, actually. Yeah, we were out one day fishing random lake here in Virginia, and they were just crushing big baits, and I wasn't really into throwing them that much that time. I saw his DreamSmasher. I was like, let me throw that thing around a little bit, and just got absolutely demolished. And then I think like the next cast, I caught like a 3.5 pounder on it.
Nice.
And then we started fishing it more and more, and they're amazing baits. They're awesome.
Yeah, cool, and pretty durable. Like you catch a lot of fish on them.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about them so much is how weedless they are. in wood and grass, which I spent a lot of time fishing these around wood, like bluff walls with trees that are some of the gnarliest trees you could imagine. I'm throwing it into the middle of it, letting it sink to the bottom, bringing it up to the branch and just like kind of letting it bounce off and over. Caught a lot of big fish doing that last spring.
With the beast hook?
With the beast hook. I want to say 10-aught.
Yeah.
It's either 8 or 10 probably. But never getting this thing snagged. And, you know, as we were fishing it around all the wood and stuff, I was thinking, man, this thing's going to be pretty killer on the Potomac. I wonder how it's going to do in the grass. I don't know how great it's going to do because of the squared off nose. Threw it in grass, and I'm like so surprised how amazing this thing is in it.
Yeah, so as long surprising. As it's standing grass. If it's like loose grass, it wraps pretty easy. But if
it's like matted hydrilla, I mean, there's very few things I feel like you can actually throw through matted hydrilla that's not a frog or punching. But yeah, through the standing grass, it did great. I was very impressed.
Cool. So just in general, like when you're out fishing, what do you look for? What makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck and go, it's time to pick up a big bait? Like, what are your clues or your weather or is there anything like activity? Like what are some general ideas for people that like to put the odds in their favor from your perspective?
So I pretty much always, like at this point, even if I'm fishing a tournament, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, like I'll always have it rigged up and on the deck. And I fish it like any other bait. Like if it's a jig or a Texas rig or a top water, if I come up to an area with, say, it's an area with like a giant laydown that has a really good cast, that if I can hit the base of it, I can run a glide bait like all the way down that tree and it opens up and gets bushy. That's like that's a spot where I'll pick up the big bait and make 2 or 3 casts, and if I don't get a follow or don't see a fish, then I'll flip it. And anything like that, like I fish it like I fish any other bait. I'm not one to, I mean, there have been situations that I will fish them all day, but it's very rare at this point because I see it as a tool, like a jig or like a top water. Like, you know how you'll pick up a bait for like one spot or one cast, you're like, man, I just want to run a spinner bait here real quick. And you either catch the fish or there's no fish there. That's how I see throwing these bigger glides or bigger swim baits, especially in like a tournament situation.
And then if you start to get a follow or a bite, then you might put it in the heavy rotation a little more, might commit to it, but you're kind of constantly sampling on key points, key bluff turns, key trees, key docks, key high spots. Like that's kind of how you kind of make kind of like you might pull up and throw a walking top water over a point before you go up there and throw a shaky head or something like that. You're doing the same thing with a swim bait.
Exactly. 100%. And then, yeah, if I do get that follow, like it might stay in my hand a little bit longer than I even intended to, because I mean, there have been days this year that the only fish that I've boated in a tournament have been on the glide bait, which it's kind of weird to say, especially for me being newer to the swim bait game. It's like I'm fishing a tournament. I caught one on a glide bait, and I caught 3 more on the glide bait after that. Like it's pretty sick. And I really see it as a tool, like in something that's constantly in the rotation with anything else.
Nice. But as far as like, do you feel like it's just keep trying it and sampling it, or do you ever say like, is like calm better, wind, sun?
This year, man, it's when they're not biting anything else. This year it's been when they're literally not biting anything else, or I'm not getting attention or even bit on anything down to a drop shot. I'll be like, screw it, I'm throwing the glide, and then I'll catch 2 or 3. It's been kind of crazy. It's like, especially in some of the waters that we fish, I don't think that they see a lot of bigger baits. They just, it hasn't hit some of those lakes yet. So I don't know. I definitely think it's something that's been very cool and eye-opening for me this year. Yeah.
Nice. Any other budget hard baits? Have you played around with like the river to sea S-Wavers, the Arashi, the Molix, some of those? What are your thoughts on some of those?
Yes. So I've fished both the S-Waver and the Arashi glide, and I was like playing around with both of those, and I think that I actually liked the Arashi Glide more just because it was more responsive and it did what I wanted it to do. Where the S Waver sometimes would catch on one of the glides where it want to go like left twice. And that could have been user error. Absolutely could have been user error. But for whatever reason, that Arashi just seemed a little bit more responsive. And I liked it a lot.
I mean, like, it comes with great, like, better hardware, I think, like, with the rotating hook hangers, and I don't know, like, I fished the bait Sanity, and I didn't change the hooks on it, the Antidote, and like I caught like a pretty modest tiger muskie and like started to open up a hook pretty quick. I was like,
How big was the tiger muskie?
Oh, I mean, I don't know, 6,
like 30
7
inches?
I mean, I don't think he was even quite 30 inches. High 20s maybe. Like, he was. I catch way bigger muskies on like jigs and tubes up here.
I hear you.
YouTube Cuz says more videos. Do you throw more like shad gizzard or more like trout? Like, what kind of color patterns do you like where you live? Obviously, you don't have a ton. I mean, there's probably some trout, but most waters you fish, I'm guessing, are like bluegill and shad lakes, right?
Yes.
But what color patterns do you like to throw in those situations?
Definitely more along the lines of the gizzard shad patterns.
Okay.
I mean, especially once summer rolls around, like now, and it starts getting real hot, I really think the fish now through fall are just like very keyed in on those shad. Especially some of the lakes I fish a little bit further north, there's just such a massive population of them, of just big gizzard shad, that I think that's kind of the fish's main forage and the main thing they're chasing around. So it's always going to be some sort of shad pattern. I mean, I have 2 of these paperweights here that I've been ripping around quite a bit. You can see both of them are like those
this way here
shad patterns. Sorry about that. This is that gizzard shad on the bottom. The top, I believe, is like an olive. I forget exactly what he called this one, but olive.
This is not what we would call a budget entry-level glide bait.
What's that?
And we would not call this a budget entry-level glide bait, the paper.
No, this is getting a little bit off topic on that. I mean, $100. It's definitely not something that's
which
cheap.
Isn't crazy, honestly, for glide
but yes, it's not super insane either. That's the other thing about glide baits. I feel like the majority of the ways people are losing these is casting them off. Like, you're not going to get it hung up in a tree and you can't get it back. I haven't experienced that.
Because you're typically, I mean, rare instances, unless you're going to weight your glide bait, you're not fishing them deeper than 5 feet, like where you could reach your rod tip down there or get a lure or get a something on them to get them, right?
Right. Yeah. 100%. And I fished like an 8.6 extra heavy Genesis 2. I think it's iRod. So I mean, I can get that pretty deep if I need to. And I've yet to lose a glide bait, knock on wood, but
I really
don't think it's something super easy
on like heavy mono, fluoro. What is your?
I threw it on 20 pound fluoro.
20 pound fluoro.
Yeah.
What's your fluoro of choice?
Sunline.
Sunline, like a shooter or a sniper or
shooter.
Okay.
Yep. I actually just got a big order of it today. Stoked.
Nice.
I need.
So a lot of guys are like big game, P-line mono for their. Have you played? I mean, what are your thoughts on why fluoro versus mono, or just what you've always done? Or
I think it's just because that's what I've always done, and I understand kind of both sides of it. I mean, the mono is going to float. The P-line, I don't know if are guys throwing the CXX for a lot of these baits. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not.
I hear.
I don't know.
I hear a few other things.
Like that CXX, I can say I've cranked with that in the past. Like the 8 and 10 pound CXX, and that stuff is probably some of the strongest line besides braid for its size that I've ever used. Like, I'm pulling up whole trees with 8 pound test and a crankbait. Like, oh my God, this is insane. But yeah, I think it's just because that's what I've always used is fluoro.
I would say it's definitely not. Don't go chintzy. I wouldn't go Red Label. I wouldn't go Assassin when I'm throwing my $100 baits. I'd go with some quality fluorocarbon. Not that those are bad lines, but like when you're risking like don't go chintzy on the fluorocarbon when you're tossing $100 glide bait. It's not going to pay off.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've used Red Label quite a bit for some of my
I use Red
moving
Label a lot.
baits. Like I really like Red
spinner
Label.
baits and
Exactly.
Yeah. I like.
That's exactly what I use it for.
Yeah. I use a lot of like Red Label and Assassin for like reaction baits. And then when I'm flipping jigs and flipping beavers and bigger baits, I like Invisix, I like Shooter, I like Sniper, like that type of stuff.
Definitely a big fan of the Invisix as well. That's a great line. That's what I flip with. It sounds like that we have a very similar taste in line in that sense. Like I'm using Red Label for my chatterbait and spinnerbait and flipping with 20 Invisix or Shooter. Yeah. So
that hard jarring hook set, I like that, the premium for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and straight floral, right? You're not playing around with braid to leader or anything like that for your swim baits. Yeah, I think that's honestly, I think more people lose swim baits throwing them on braid. That's where they get into trouble because you get that, it locks up and it pops, even like 80-pound braid, like
for sure. Oh, especially when you start talking about the bigger and heavier swim baits, because the musky fishing experience that I've had and like a lot of the buddies I fish with, and I've snapped one glider off musky fishing. I was able to get it back, luckily, because it landed in like 2 feet of water. But I've seen quite a few baits thrown off, and actually, I don't think I've ever seen one snapped off like from it being stuck deep. It's always been someone casting it with 80 or 100-pound braid. And you know, when braid starts to backlash and you can't save it, it's like, well, this is gonna jar the rod out of my hand, or the bait's gonna snap, one of the two. So.
Yeah, I think the only big bait I ever lost was one of my old True Tungsten gills, which back in the day was like a $50 bait, and that was probably like a 40 or 50-pound braid, and it just that line caught and just
see ya. Yeah, it's a very noticeable sound. We'll say that.
What's up, Craig? He said he found some bluegill beds starting 8 feet of water. How should I work that 4-inch DreamSmasher in that area? Have you played around with fishing this on bluegill beds and things like that?
Just a little bit. I didn't
Tom,
get the chance
if you're in
to
the
do
chat,
it this
feel
year.
free to chime in because you would probably know best. But
he might know how to fish that thing. I don't know. No, it's funny. One of the lakes Billy and I fish pretty frequently. He was seeing a bunch of fish on beds, and Tom wrote him a really good message about how to fish those baits, and it was like, damn, that's very smart. I like that a lot. I'm gonna have to try it. And we went out. None of the fish were on beds. Like 3 days later, couldn't find them.
I honestly would think about
Billy
trying
Baits,
like a jig on bluegill beds. Like literally just get it down there and like hop it, like almost like people fish dark sleepers. I would start with that and then play around with slow rolling it. Yeah, so there's Billy. What's up, Billy?
That's my what do we call him? The sensei. My big bait
your
sensei.
Big bait sensei?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Billy. Welcome to the chat.
I run braid leader.
So that's your big swim bait rod is your eye rod. What's your other swim bait rod?
I have I think it's a 7-Eleven cash and rod that they came out with, like a musky rod. It's not built to be a musky rod, but it's like a perfect soft swim bait rod.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like that's your soft swim bait, and then the other one's the glide bait rod.
That's kind of how I've been using it. Yeah. It would work perfectly fine as a glide bait rod. But I like the 8.6 just a little bit more.
Nice.
Sling it a little further.
Yeah, I got my main swim bait rod is the Dobbins 795 Mike Long signature.
Oh, yeah.
I have the old version that's actually the Mike Long version, which is not as cool as it was when I bought it 15 years ago.
Well,
it's still a good rod though. Like whatever.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
That is funny. What do you think of? I mean, I want to know what you think about the whole controversy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I don't know if you read like the article the guy did from the San Diego, like I don't know, that's pretty condemning evidence, and like he chronicles it like I don't think there's any wiggle room, and that he was just one of the biggest con artists in fishing ever. I don't know what else to really say about it. Like he,
for sure. It's crazy. I mean, growing up fishing, like I'd even heard that name, like, you know, I'm like, damn, that dude's a beast. Like, he's such a beast. And when I saw that article, I was completely wrapped up in it. I was like, I don't even remember what I was doing. I don't even think I was at the house. And I was like, hang on, I might have been at dinner with the girlfriend or something. I was like, I have to read this. Give me
like
30 minutes, like 5 pages. Yeah. That's pretty intense. You know, you got a guy up in the hills following you around. It's crazy, but it's also good that it was brought to light, you know?
Yeah, that was like, I mean, I'm not like a big reader. Like, I like to like watch videos and listen to podcasts and but like I could not like put it down. Like, I was just like glued to it. So
that was me too, 100%.
Nice. So the paperweight, what any that I've seen that in quite a few of your videos. Is that like that's the glide du jour today? Like today, like what you've been sticking with? Anything else you're playing around with right now, or?
Yeah. So this is probably my best performing glide, I guess. I mean, I really like the size of it.
Like, what's
that?
Now that you've fished it a bunch, like what is it about the paperweight, or what do you like about it? What have you found about it that's unique? How does it run? How deep are you fishing it? Like, give us your analysis of the paperweight.
You know, it's all the hype. People love these things. They're hard to get. I think that's why it's my favorite.
And it catches them for you, right? And you get bit, right?
No, like, it does what I want it to do. It reacts to every reel handle turn. I know where it's at in the water. It's not a super fast sinking bait. So if I want it to go a little bit deeper, I can fish it ultra slow, or if I want to fish it closer to the surface, I can fish it a little quicker. Working this around trees or working this around docks is super simple. You can almost direct it, actually. Even if you make a bad cast and you're trying to bring it into something, it like close into the cover, you can maneuver it where you want it to go.
So you can kind of do like a short twitch and a long twitch to get it to like walk one way. Like you can do with a spook, right? If you're good, you can like twitch short, long twitch, and like get it to like.
You just get it to do whatever. You can make it go where you want it to go. And I think that's one of my favorite things about fishing this bait. It's also not super gigantic. I mean, it's obviously bigger. If it's your first time throwing a swim bait, you might be like, man, I never throw anything even half this size. Like the biggest thing I throw is a 3-inch deep diving crankbait, or 7-inch or 6-inch Senko. It's not huge. You can probably get away with throwing this on a bigger.
What does the paperweight weigh?
I actually don't even know the exact weight.
Like,
but
if you
probably
guess.
3 ounces, 4 ounces, maybe 3.5 would probably be right in the middle. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
And so, and this is one of those baits you can only get on a drop.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to get your hands on, but they're definitely worth it. Okay, so it's 2 3/4 ounces.
So it's pretty light. It's actually, I mean, a touch. It's about the same size as the Shine Glide. So if you throw the Shine Glide, this is right in the same ballpark.
Yep, and it's 7 inches, so it's like, or 9 inches with the tail, so it's right in there. But I mean, I've had a lot of success with this bait. Fish are not scared to follow it and eat it. It just works. I don't know. I'm a big believer in, like, if a bait works, then keep throwing it.
So what's, for somebody that's new to glides, whether they're going to get a paperweight or an Arashi or a S-Waver, like, what's your advice of, like, what is a basic retrieve? Obviously, you can talk about it, and then I think, like, go check some of his videos out. He's got some glide bait. Like, you can watch how he fishes. That's probably easier. But maybe while we're here, explain how you work a glide bait.
Sure. I mean, I spend a lot of time fishing these around cover, where most people would not think to throw this into a tree or like right next to a dock. But that's what it's built to do, is like pull these fish out of these areas to eat.
consider. I mean, I forget who was talking about. There's two kinds of glide baits. There's a cover glide and a, I don't know what they called the other one, but cover glide.
Okay, open water glide kind of
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I mean, I've actually never even heard that, so that's pretty cool. I would like to look more into that. But the main way that I'll start fishing this, I'll bomb a cast as far as I can into this cover, and then just slowly retrieve it and basically watch it, getting it as close to the branches without getting snagged as possible. Like if there's 4 branches within this retrieve, I want it to be like nosing into every one of those branches on every reel of that cast. So
I mean, you're kind of walking the dog underwater, right? I mean,
yeah, essentially. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it's going to do.
It's a little more slow and deliberate than a spook or a vixen.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing real short. I mean, is it more with the reel or the rod tip that you're moving your bait?
I mean, it's like 95% with the reel.
Yeah, you're kind of just slow, like quarter turns, right? Like,
yeah, like half turns.
Yeah,
half turns. And then if you do get a fish following it, and this was a very difficult thing for me, even coming from musky fishing and like getting follows and needing to speed up and like make that bait go faster, it's like you don't want to fish it slow then. And that's something I've learned and experienced. And that's actually when I will start throwing twitches of the rod in, is when I'm trying to make it walk more in place, like really quick and erratic. And I've found that they will eat closer to the boat like that, instead of just like, you're running out of runway, you're giving it those half turns and it's doing these glides. And then you have a foot left of line at the end of the rod and the fish just kind of looks at you and peace out. I'm done. But something about the rod twitches, like if I see a follow, I have a couple videos where I've had some pretty sweet catches that like the fish were following it real close, and then I'd go into like this real quick retrieve of like twitching the rod and giving it handle turns, and it just smokes it. Sure. And while I don't have a ton of experience with that, it seems to work. So that's what I'm going to stick with. But yeah.
But it's something like, it's not like a Senko where you get 100 data samples every day you go out, like, right? Like, right. So it's like, it's a little slower to build that data set. So when you're fishing a glide bait, you can typically see your bait the whole cast or not?
The majority of the time. I mean, I do like fishing it probably a little bit deeper than I can see it. And I'm not always fishing clear water. That's the other thing. It's like most of the water that I'm fishing is stained, maybe 2, maybe 3 feet of visibility, especially since I moved down here to Richmond. I've been fishing the James and the Chick a lot. And like, if you have an incoming tide or it's high tide, it's going to be really dirty. So you might not see that bait at all until it's 5 feet from the boat. One of the other places I've been fishing it quite a bit is the Occoquan Reservoir, which is where we have all those Jon Boat tournaments. The water there ranges from 6 feet of viz to, if you go way up in the river, it can be a foot. And obviously that's all dependent on rain. But my success this year has been fishing this in, we'll say, a foot of clarity to 3 feet of clarity, and fishing it maybe 3 feet deep. I'll make the cast, I'll let it sink for 5 or 6 seconds, and then I'll start that retrieve. And I think maybe two of the 6 fish that I've caught on it this year have been at the boat, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And like, I've seen them and I've made those fish eat.
Nice. So you said you typically let it sink how long before you start the retrieve? I mean, assuming you're not throwing it right into a tree or a dock, but assuming it's like,
right. If I'm casting across a point or something,
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something you want to play around with, but we'll say 5 or 6 seconds.
Okay.
I want to say like, these don't sink super quick. Like, that's not going to be 5 or 6 feet. It might be 3 feet.
Sure.
But yeah, sometimes I will let it sink longer than that. Sometimes I'll let it go for 8 to 10 seconds if I know that, I'm not going to get it caught on a rock that's
not a standing tree right underneath your bait.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Nice. Cool. Very cool. So you experiment with any other hard baits besides glide baits?
I've got a bull shad, one of the bigger bull shads. I think it's the 9-inch, and
Okay.
I've had it for a few years. It's honestly something I haven't thrown a bunch. It was kind of like one of the first big baits that I bought, and I was like, I'm just gonna make, like, I want to try to make a video with this, and I want to try to catch 8 fish on this. Like, I think this thing is badass. I know that they work, and I've hooked 3 or 4 fish on it. All of them were small too, like between 1 pound and 3 pounds, and didn't catch a single one. But I need to get that thing back in the boat and in the rotation. Yeah, because I know how effective they can be. Besides that, I borrowed one of Billy's. It was a Dibuka Softail. So it's not really a big bait. It's like a wake bait, basically. I want to say it's 4 inches with the Softail built onto it, and it's got one of the, like, a waking lip on it. And I threw that a bunch when I was down in Florida. Went down and fished headwaters for the first time in August. I caught like a 7. I want to say it was a 7.5 on like the 3rd cast. It was awesome. It was very cool. But I definitely want to start throwing some rats and other bigger topwaters for sure. That's something I want to experiment with a bit this year.
Cool. Yeah, I got a little baby Buka. I think I bought the 5-inch because I'm like still got the training wheels on, and I'm still trying to build confidence in big baits and things like that. So
for sure, no, that honestly might have been, or might be, some of the reason I don't throw that 9-inch that much, because it's a big bait. When I hold it, I'm like, man, this thing, like, it doesn't just look big; it is big. Like,
yeah, the 9-inch is a big bait, like that, and
it's tall. Yeah, it is tall for sure, no doubt. I need to get one of the smaller ones to throw around though, because I think that can definitely be pretty sweet.
I think this is back to Craig's question earlier. You're not hearing like any weird feedback on your end, are you? Like some kind of weird stat? Okay, it's just on I'm just hearing something. I don't know.
Is it coming from me, or is it?
No, I think it's like coming from something I have plugged in over here.
Gotcha.
Smallmouth kill the baby bullshit. What size reels? I mean, you got like 300 size reels, or what kind of reels are you using on your rods?
Yeah, I'm throwing a Tranks 300. That's like on my main swim bait setup, and then I have an old Daiwa Lexa 300, both of which were like originally my musky fishing reels, and then I'll like throw fluorocarbon on them when I'm not musky fishing. But yeah, they're both great. The Daiwa Lexa that I have is a few years old, and it has been through some stuff, and like, I got it from a friend when I started musky fishing, and it screams like crazy when you cast it, but it's strong as an ox, man. The thing is nice. It's badass. It's a great reel. I feel the same way about the Tranks too.
It's good for audio on your chesty to have the reel screaming.
Oh, dude, people love it. I have to like cut the clips out of me casting it, because I would get comments on every single video like, man, you really need to clean your reels. Like, that thing sounds like shit. I'm like, I know, I fish so much. I just don't have it in me to take apart this reel and break it or whatever it may be.
Nice. Yeah. Sometimes it's just a couple. You don't even have to, like, sometimes just like open the side plate and just drop in a couple drops on like the pinion. You don't even have to like necessarily get in there sometimes to.
For sure. I learned last winter how to do that. Actually, I sat down one day and I was like, actually, I think it was talking about Debo's fishing earlier.
Sure.
I want to say he did some videos that I watched on
cleaning reels,
how to take apart a bait caster and clean them. And I watched, I think he had 2, and I watched them both, and I did it to all of my reels.
It's really just like what happens is you're like, I'm definitely cleaning this reel when I get home. And then you put the boat away and you don't touch it, and you go fishing, and it's like, dang it, tonight is the night. I'm definitely cleaning my reel tonight. And then the next day happens, and it's just a never-ending cycle.
No, 100%. It's always easy to say when you're out on the water and it sounds like crap, and then you get home and you're so exhausted, you're like, there is no chance I'm doing anything with that reel. Like it'll still be screaming tomorrow. I don't care. I'm going to bed.
That's awesome. Do you fish any have you fished the glide baits up north or any place where they really don't have shad?
That's a good question. I feel like most of the places that I've fished a glide, they have shad.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't think I have fished it anywhere that doesn't have shad, but I'm kind of in the belief of like a fish is a fish, and if it sees one of these, it doesn't matter if it's a trout or a shad glide, and like the only thing that's in that lake is a bluegill. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they really care.
I think some lakes are a little more predisposed. I mean, there's like I talked to Tom, and like he looks for lakes that have like golden shiners in them, or good populations of bullheads, or baby carp. And so it seems like those lakes, the bass are a little more predispositioned to eat a bigger bait. Whereas if it's a lake that's just full of stunted bluegills, they may be less likely to chase down a 7-8 inch swim bait. Not saying you won't catch them, but I think you can stack your odds in your favor sometimes on some of our natural lakes by looking at some of the forage. And some lakes just are big bait lakes better than other lakes. Not every lake is perfect for throwing the big stuff, I don't think.
I think it depends on like how big, like if we're using this paperweight as an example, like I think I could go anywhere in the country. It doesn't matter if it's a shad lake or bluegill lake or like whatever. I don't think it matters.
I'm not saying you can't catch them, but I think like certain lakes your odds go up, I guess, or like
for sure. I mean, there's certain lakes that I mean, there's I'm sure you have big fish lakes or like lakes where you think you'll catch bigger fish up that way, and that's how like Billy and I will go out and fish Big Fish Lake is what we call it, because we know we have a better shot at catching an actual giant there.
Sure.
Which is like any area I think in the country, which lakes are going to hold better fish, hopefully.
For sure.
But yeah,
soft baits. We talked a little bit about the DreamSmasher. You like the weedless, and it looks like, did you have a top hook there as well?
I do have one of the top hook.
Have you played around with
ones as well? I have played around with both. The majority of the time, I'm going to throw the weedless with the beast hook, though. Just because most of the lakes that we fish are so full of wood and just, I mean, either wood or grass is like what we're fishing. So I opt for the beast hook going in there. Nice. Besides the DreamSmashers, though, I've done pretty well with the Megabass, the Mag Draft. Obviously, I like to throw that on the freestyle as well.
The 6-inch or the 8-inch?
The 6. I haven't messed around too much with the 8. And is it the 8-inch that does it come in a freestyle, or is that the one that's already pre-rigged?
I would have to look it up. I know the 6-inch comes in multiple versions. I don't know about the 8-inch. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's one I have not messed around with yet. But I mean, the majority of the time, I'm going to be throwing the DreamSmasher, the normal shad, or the Flying V. I've yet to catch a fish on that Flying V, but man, it's such a cool bait, especially when you're throwing it with the weightless hook. Tom sent us one that had like the nail weights, one in the tail, one in the belly, where it suspends. Like if you kill it, just has this shimmer. Dude, it looks so good. And
it's like a big Senko. Just like throwing a 10-inch Senko.
It's like a giant Senko, for sure. I got bit on it quite a few times. My last trip to Florida, but I just couldn't connect. But I think that I need to spend some more time with it, because it definitely can be unlocked. And I think that is a very, very cool technique.
Yeah, I haven't. I do not have a Flying V yet. I have not played around with that.
It's very neat.
I did catch my first 2 mag draft fished on Smith Mountain in March on back-to-back casts under the same, back-to-back casts under the same dock. That was pretty cool. Skipping the mag draft under a dock on Smith Mountain.
You were on Smith Mountain?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah, in March.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a cool lake. That's a very fun lake.
I'd never been there before. So my trip, we did like a COVID like spring break. We went out to North Carolina Topsail.
Okay.
And then for one day, I drove all the way from Topsail to Smith Mountain, which was like 4.5 hours. Fished with my buddy Billy Coles for 10 hours, and then drove home or drove back to Emerald.
Yeah, that's a long day. I know those pretty well, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, but when you're like
catch
ate up with it like we are, it's just another day.
it doesn't matter. You're like 8 hours of driving to fish for 10. All right, book it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really cool lake too. I mean, it's very nice.
Yeah. Good question from Mike F. What kind of knots do you tie on the fluorocarbon for these big baits?
The knot that I tie, I want to say, I think it's called it's a double San Diego jam, but I do it a little different. Or if you look up the Zona shark knot or double Pitson, I've just never actually learned the name of it, but he taught it to me. It's like you double it over like a Palomar,
you twist
over
it.
the finger, twist it, and then I bring it back up through the top loop, which a lot of people will stick it back through the bottom. For whatever reason, I could have been tying it wrong, but when I started doing it through the bottom, I'd say it was a Texas rig, I would bring the bait back and kind of have it dangling off the side of the boat, and then all of a sudden, it would just go slack. I was like, dude, I just lost another tungsten weight and hook. Like, how is this possible? Like, my knot wasn't messed up or anything. So I started tying it through the top loop, and I have not had an issue since. Like, it significantly took care of my break off situation.
It's weird you say that. I had the same experience, and I do the same thing.
Really? But you were just losing like baits?
I remember it not being like, or it would tie funny, and I wasn't happy with it, and like it was. I don't remember exactly, but like, yeah, I do the. Well, I wish I had some line handy, but yeah, I like double it over, loop around my one finger, like wrap it 3-4 times, then I just go back up through the top knot, and then you end up with 3 tag ends. But that's what I use for any of my heavy fluorocarbon.
What's the name of that?
Double San Diego jam knot, but I think I'm cheating by not going through that bottom loop.
So that's very funny, because you're probably the only person I've ever talked to that has that had that same issue, because I have quite a few friends that tie it. They all go through the bottom and they call me crazy. Basically, they're like, what do you mean it just came untied? I'm like, dude, I had my Texas rig on the side of the boat and I'm like waiting for the next cast, or like trying to line up, and then my tungsten weight is gone.
Yeah, I don't know that I just had it fallen off, but I remember having issues, and then I don't know if I just skipped it or messed it up, and then it worked, and I was like, this is gold. Oh yeah, and like that's what I do for jigs. That's what I do for like EWG flipping, like fluoro. I still tie a lot of Palomar, like if I'm throwing a spinnerbait or a crankbait, like I don't worry about it. But anything I'm like hammering on them, then I tell the double San Diego jam knot, and that would be the same for big baits. So
yeah, it's the same. I tie that for literally anytime I have fluorocarbon on, besides if I'm fishing a drop shot, I'm tying that double San Diego jam. Everything, spinnerbait, chatterbait, glide bait, doesn't matter. But no Palomar knot with the fluoro for me. I broke off far too many fish.
Josh, I do not. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get Omnia to carry Dobbins, and then we can do some things.
Double Pitson.
Billy says 100% DreamSmasher all the time.
Oh yeah, he does too. I told you, Billy's the one that got me on the DreamSmasher. I think it's sick.
Double Pitson swindle video, so there you can learn and be entertained at the same time. Yeah, so I guess it's a modified San Diego jam.
That's why when you asked, I was like, I don't really know the exact name of it, because I do it weird and I take it back through the top. But it is a very strong knot. And I know people that tie Palomar knots strictly with all fluorocarbon they throw, and I'm like, dude, I will break it and I'll snap it. But they do perfectly fine. I don't get it. Maybe I've tied it wrong my whole life.
So Peter says he was fishing this weekend, saw massive bass all over the place, couldn't get him to bite anything. Tried Texas rig, wacky rig, jigs, spinners, crankbait, jerkbait. Glide bait. Long cast with a glide bait.
Long cast with a glide bait, or if you see fish on a bed that's doing weird stuff like that. It's something I learned this year. Ace and I were in a tournament. We were fishing for like a 4.5, 5-pound female on a bed. We tried everything: a jig, a Texas rig, a shaky head. putting a drop shot right above her nose. And I go, Ace, let me try throwing this glide bait at her. It was the only thing she reacted to. Followed it all the way to the boat, super aggressive, swiped on it, didn't hook her. But
did you pitch back something else then and she ate it? Or?
No, it was done. She was done after that.
Oh.
She chased it all the way off the bed. It was really sick, but it was like, that's it. One shot, and I missed it.
I've heard a lot of people say that they like to throw big baits to get the fish fired up, but sometimes when they're bed fishing, they'll actually throw a hookless big bait because the chance of foul hooking them or not hooking them well, and then so
that makes a lot of sense actually. But yeah, that was the only thing that fish reacted to was the big bait.
Yeah, the only thing I would say in that clear water, like I would think a wacky rig or something like that or a drop shot would work, but a lot of times I think the mistake we make in that clear water is waiting till you see the fish. Like I think you sometimes just longer casts in general help a lot for that type of stuff. Like don't wait till you see them and they see you before you start trying to fish for them.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, that's definitely one of those spots where you got to step back and just bomb casts.
Brendan wants to know, you got any big North Midwest trips planned this year?
Possibly. Actually, I might be coming to Minnesota in September. So I've fished in a few of these muskie battles. It's like a YouTube muskie tournament that Jeff from Just Keep Casting puts on, and like great group of dudes. We all go up either to Minnesota or we did St. Clair one year. And I think this year it's going to be in September, and it overlaps with one of the Jon Boat tournaments. So I'm not 100% if I can make it, but if I can get someone to sub and Ace is cool with fishing, then I might make the run up there because it would definitely be a lot of fun. It's tough missing one of those. It's once a year, like everybody gets together. We get to fish for big muskie. Yeah. Hopefully coming up to Minnesota next year. Or,
Very cool.
This year.
Well, if you need a break from muskie and you're up here, let me know.
Well, maybe I'll make it a week-long trip or something, or longer. Get some fishing in, and then I'll do the muskie thing. And I've been meaning to get up there and do some fishing with Tom as well.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. Maybe all three of us can get out. Maybe I'll just rip the Gambler up there. Who knows?
There you go. Well, Tom and I both got boats, so
that does make it a little bit easier on me. I won't lie. That's a long haul with the van and the the very, very heavy boat.
It looks like you inspired Roger to get into Jon Boat fishing. So there you go.
Where's he at? I bought a Jon Boat and started fishing. Oh, dude, hell yeah, that's awesome. Those are by far my favorite comments of all time. Like if I can get someone to get into fishing,
or just like, hey, I tried that bait and I caught a 5-pounder, or
yeah,
hey, I learned that knot and now I don't lose as many baits, or like I bought that Arsenal wacky tool and now I don't waste as many Senkos and I catch more fish. Like that's like
all of that is like the most positive feedback you could ever get. Like that's why I make these videos. I think that's the coolest thing. It's like just to get people fishing and to show how cool fishing really is. I love it. I really do.
You know what? And then you forget about the people that are telling you to clean your reel. So
oh, dude, those are the nice ones. Are you kidding me? People telling me to clean my reel or trying to help me out. It's like I'm so just, I'm sure you get quite a bit of it too, or you have in the past. It's like all the negative comments, whatever. All right, that's cool. I'm fishing.
I feel like that's how you know you're starting to make it. Is that if you've got enough people watching that you're invoking strong emotions, then that means you're doing something. So.
Yeah, that's very true, and it just comes with the territory.
Joke's on them. Engagement is engagement.
Yeah, that's true too. I've heard it. I've like always been very good at letting it slide, but I feel like lately, and I don't know if it's the older I'm getting, like I don't know. I just like to speak my mind a little bit, but
sure.
The best thing to do is just let it go, let it ride, or like comment back something like a smiley face and just
thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the feedback.
Man. I hope you enjoyed the video. Can't wait to see your comments on the next one. Like I could care less, but yeah, I love it.
Nice. Gus, yeah, I fish mostly in Minnesota, but I do travel a bit. I fished a little bit in Wisconsin. I mean, I fished Iowa. I fished tournaments in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. I've been down to I fished tournaments in Georgia, Alabama, Texas. So I get around a little bit. Like last year, I fished the Bass Nation National Championships in Pickwick in Alabama. So I get around a little bit, but it's probably still 90+% in Minnesota. And then you're mostly in the Virginia area, right? I mean, you travel down to Florida a little in the spring quite a bit. It seems like.
Oh yeah, no, it's usually in the winter when I've just got the blues up here and it's cold as hell, and I'm like, well, obviously I sound whiny because I'm not up in Minnesota where things are frozen over. It's still possible to fish, but it's pretty brutal. But yeah, I'll travel down to Florida 2 or 3 times in the winter. Where's your favorite place that you've fished?
Favorite place that I have fished?
Yeah, I know that's a tough question because I get it all the time, and I'm like, well, it kind of depends. But
yeah, if
you could move somewhere to fish, where would it be?
I mean, honestly, like dream situation is that like I spend 6 months up north somewhere, like on one of our lakes or like Champlain or someplace where you got multi-species, smallmouth and largemouth, and then I spend 6 months in like Texas or Alabama or Florida. Like, yeah, that'd be my ideal situation
for sure.
I don't know if I would love living in like Texas 12 months out of the year where I like miss the seasons and don't get access to big smallies and things like that. I mean, up here, like Mississippi River, I think is a super fun place to fish. The upper Mississippi, like pools 4 through 9 up here, like that La Crosse area where you see like the Costas and the FLW and the Bassmasters come. Those are just some of the coolest places to fish around here. Smallmouth, largemouth, frogging, all kinds of different things. It's a lot of fun. I don't know.
I need to check that out. That's something I have not done is fish the Mississippi. So if I come up in the fall or like in September, would that be possible? Could we do that?
Yeah, it would be.
Is that a good time to do
that
it?
Time of year, the frog bite gets spotty at best, but then it's the time of year when the wing dam bite first and sand drop starts to turn on for smallmouth. For like throwing like top waters and Carolina rigs for like smallmouth.
It sounds good to me. I don't catch a lot of smallmouth. I mainly am targeting largemouth just because I don't know. I guess there aren't a ton of like great big smallmouth fisheries around me. So it's not something I've had the ability to do much of, but I mean, I've been to St. Clair when they're spawning and it's like, you're catching 4s, 3s, 4s, 5s every cast, and it feels like cheating. And I think it's one of the coolest things in the world. It's awesome.
Yeah,
they're awesome. I would say fish.
Later September gets to be better. Early September is like starts to transition, but when you get into later September and early October, it gets a little better, the fishing. But any advice on a glide bait with a lot of milfoil? Or do you avoid glide baits in weedy situations, and do you prefer to go with like a soft swim bait then, or what are your thoughts on that?
If you have like a hard edge or you can find good lines to throw it, I think sure, go for it. Absolutely. Like if it's worth your time. If it's one of those areas or like lakes that is completely full and like you can only get quarter casts or you're going to get hung in grass basically all the time, then I'm definitely going to opt for the soft swim bait there. No doubt.
So if you get hard line where you can make long casts and get clean edges and parallel it.
Yes.
But otherwise, if you're fishing more pockets and clumps, you're going to fish a weedless swim bait.
100%. I think it might be more effective in that sense. Like if it's more of a pain in the ass to be picking grass off your bait every single cast, whereas you can throw the DreamSmasher, then I'm going to throw the DreamSmasher.
Or obviously if it's early in the year and it's not topped out and you can fish it over it, that's different. But
well, yeah, that's a different story though. That would be great. I think that's awesome. For sure.
Dogs are home. Big baits, open water. Do you like to fish your bait deeper or keep it up high and get the fish to rise up? Morgan wants to know.
I think it's something you got to play around with. It's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, start fishing it high up and then count it down for 6 or 7 or 8 seconds and like let it get 5 or 6 feet down in the water column and try to get them to react, or like if you get a follow, try to remember what you were doing, or like try to keep in mind how deep the bait was, and then just go off of that and continue doing that same thing until you're either not getting follows or you need to switch it up and you start getting bit, or you have more fish following it again. It's all about kind of like figuring out what the fish want, which is, I think, the hardest thing in fishing in general. Not even just big baits, all baits.
Nice. Cool. Good luck, Peter. I don't know what kind of glide baits you're going to find at Cabela's. That might be the biggest challenge that you may find. It's a little bit more like a jerkbait, but not completely like a jerkbait.
It's actually a pretty good thing to compare it to, I think. Like a glide bait compared to a jerkbait. I think that's pretty.
Yeah, but it's a little more like slower and deliberate.
Yes.
Like more like an early season jerkbait, not like a summer jerkbait.
Okay, fair. Very fair. Yeah.
I respond to Insta DMs mostly. I don't know.
I try to do as many as I can.
I probably don't get as overwhelmed as Matt does.
I think one of the hardest things about responding to every DM is that you start a conversation with everyone, and it's hard to keep up with that many conversations, especially when I'm as scatterbrained as they come. It can be pretty difficult and overwhelming at times. Converted a Jon Boat into a bass boat.
Yep.
Good stuff.
That's true, Thomas, but you do got some good stretches of the Mississippi River. Levi, yes, it's scrolling across the bottom. It went from Hellabass Spring 15 to Hellabass Summer 15. So hopefully you see that. There's some good feedback from Morgan on the retrieve. We're falling behind. Cam says favorite time to fish glides is over grass in the fall when it's dying off.
These are all great tips. I'm going to take these in mind too. Keep them in mind. Like I was saying earlier, I'm the furthest thing from a pro or like, you know, a very good big bait fisherman. It's something that I picked up through a buddy, and it's something that I'm trying to do more of. So take everything I say with a grain of salt.
Fun bait here, I'll tell you. Have you heard of JSJ? They're out of California. They make the snack size trout, snack size gill. I don't know.
Yes, I feel like I've definitely heard of them. Is that
I made a trade for this guy.
Nice. Damn, that looks awesome.
Yeah. I still haven't thrown it yet, but
that's very cool looking. Is that just a slow sinking?
I think it is a really slow sink gill, multi-joint.
Mm-hmm. It's got a real like bulbous tail on there. It looks pretty cool.
It's got like
I like it. Yeah, that's awesome.
And compared to like, obviously it's not huge, but it's a decent size. No, this is my most unique premium fancy bait, I guess.
What does the JSJ run you? Well, you said you traded it, but
when I got it, if you buy it off his website, it's like 130, 140.
It's up there. But is it one of those baits that are hard to get and resell?
He does limited runs. I don't think they're like I mean, it's not as hyped, but yeah, he does. I got this old like wooden punker. Punker.
That's sick.
Punker. The junior. This is the junior. And it's like the size of my arm.
It's wild, man. It's crazy to think about how big of the baits that some people are throwing. And like, I mean, it's crazy.
Otherwise,
it's very cool though.
Yeah, otherwise, like I do have a fair amount of these older true tungsten gills, which people
I've never heard of those. That's pretty sick.
The True Tungsten, these came out, and actually supposedly Matt Newman and Itch Monroe put their name on them. What's cool about them is they have a pin right here, and you pull the pin, and it's got holes in it, and it had tungsten balls, and so you could adjust and add 1 or 2 or no tungsten balls, and then you would adjust your own swim baits to make them a floating to a slow sink to a fast sink. So they were one of the first ones to do that.
very neat.
But there's some people that like who was I watching, like maybe like fishing with Nordby or one of those guys that fishes down in Alabama and throws.
Oh yeah,
I noticed a few times he had the true tongue, and I was like, "Is that a true?" He's like, "Yeah." Shh.
Dude, did you see what happened to his boat?
Yeah, that was
like
crazy, dude.
2 months ago,
He's
man.
got a nice cat now, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I could not imagine how terrifying that was.
Yeah,
I saw those pictures. Nuts. I was like, dude, that sucks, but glad you're all right. Like, that's the most important thing out of all of this. Like, I'm sure, you have insurance on your boat, all that'll be fine. But, nobody got hurt.
There's what it is. That's the JSJ snack size trout.
Okay. Damn, that looks good too. And so that's more of a swimming trout. Yeah. That's not a glide.
Yeah, because it's double jointed. It's more
right.
Yeah, I have caught a few fish on this one, but
that's awesome. What would you say your most productive swim bait has been since you've gotten into throwing them? Nice.
I don't know if that's really a swim bait or not, but
that's a swim bait. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like why not? Honestly, I probably caught more fish on just because I've had them longer and thrown them more. Those true tungsten ones.
Right. Just a bigger sample size too.
Yeah, it's just I've had them longer and I've thrown them more, and
for sure.
That's all I had back when I first started. But it's always something I would like every year. I'm like, this is gonna be the year I'm really gonna catch him on big baits, and then I catch them on jigs and frogs and chatterbaits.
It's like you're saying too. Like, you fish a lot of tournaments. It's I think it's something you really have to dedicate a lot of time to if you want to go out and solely catch swimbait fish. Or like you,
yeah,
that's kind of, you switch from tournament mode to big bait mode, like trying to catch really big fish all the time.
Mm-hmm. You gotta be like Tom and not fish tournaments. And
that's true. But I was listening to he was on, whose podcast was he on? Was it this? Wasn't this podcast?
He was, but that was a while ago. He's been on a couple of them.
Was it Cat? Was he with? He was on Cast and Crank maybe a month ago.
Maybe.
And he was saying, he was like, I really want to get back into fishing tournaments, but I just have no damn time because I'm making so many baits.
Yeah,
dude, the tournaments are fun. I really like them. Like I truly do. It gives you. It's like that bit of fire when you're out there. It gives you, I don't want to say it gives you a reason to be out there because I would be out there anyway. But fishing against the clock is like a lot of fun to me.
Get that little shot of dopamine. It's like
just like that.
Like
all right,
adrenaline.
Oh, when you, especially if you catch a big fish or like, things are working out well. Definitely the dopamine high for sure.
Nice. I'm not familiar with the phony frog glide bait. You know what that is?
Yes, the phony frogs. So it looks somewhat similar to the paperweight in the sense that it's a shad glide, but it's more realistic than the paperweight. It's a little bit bigger as well, and heavier. It's probably 2 or 3 times as heavy. It's got to be at least 5 ounces. I mean, it's a bigger bait for sure. But guys around here, actually, the guy that makes the phony frog is from this general area, a bit east of me, but Chickahominy River, we'll say. Good looking glide. Like, man, it looks awesome. Nice. Billy throws them quite a bit. I've seen him catch some absolute studs on that bait. And I think a lot of the big bait guys around here throw that, and they're like, it's like in the arsenal all the time. It's a great looking bait.
So it's one of them fish catchers that just got a slightly less hype than maybe like some of these other ones. I mean, it probably still is, but it's maybe just a little.
It's definitely
more on the
still
DL, like, but still popular.
Someone just said it. Yeah, Hinkle. It looks like a Hinkle. Yes, like it's basically. I mean, I don't know if it's fair of me to say a Hinkle knockoff, but it's basically a Hinkle knockoff. Go there. I mean, I don't know. I say that with all due respect, but that's what I would compare it to most.
Yeah. You ever find any shoalies up by you? I didn't realize they were up that far if they are.
Shoalies?
Yeah, shoal bass. I thought they were only in Lake Georgia, but
no, I mean, I don't think so. We have some spotted bass, but that's about it.
Yeah, I need to start catching them on the Arashi more consistently, and the Antidote and the S Waver before I start buying $100 glide baits.
But the more expensive ones catch them better, dude. That's the secret. Yeah. No, I'm totally kidding. I think the more expensive ones catch the angler a bit more, you know.
Yeah. Thanks, Spencer. It was fun. Looks like Jason picked up 2 last Friday. What's up, Sean? What was else? Was there another stream on tonight, Sean? I don't know why you're here so late. There must have been something else going on. Sean Lai is like the bass fishing stream aficionado. Like
he's the dude. What's up, Sean?
Maybe let's talk about your boat stuff. So your main boat forever was your Jon Boat that you basically pimped out to make it a sweet Jon, fishing. When did you get that, and like what was that like? And then we can talk about your newest endeavors.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So
there's some good videos, like if you want to see, like he's got videos on his builds and his van and all that stuff. So like, if you want deep dive, there's some good content out there.
Definitely some Jon Boat builds up on the old YouTube channel, but I actually started the YouTube channel with a I want to say it was a 68 Jon Boat, like old. A tree fell through it. Like it had a ton of character. It had seen some stuff. It was a buddy of mine's boat. We rebuilt it. He sold it to me for super cheap. It had a 9.9. And that's what I started the channel with for the first 2.5 years. It was a great boat. It was 12 foot, a wide one, so it was pretty stable. But from there, moved up to the low 1448, and that's the current boat that I have now. Fishing all the Jon Boat tournaments that I could, really. Obviously, the Fountainhead series or the ones that run on the Occoquan Reservoir. It's a 1448 low with a 9.9 Mercury. Front deck obviously built out pretty nice. Didn't build a back deck on this one because we were super, super tight on time. This was the boat that James and I took on the 50 state tour. And I was freaking out because we had to leave by a certain date because James had to be back for work basically in June. So we had basically like 78 days to go through 50 states, or 48, the lower 48 with the van, driving, fishing every day, all that. So we skipped the back deck on that one. Sorry, James. But yeah, that's been, I never even rebuilt it because it's still got enough space for someone to fish back there. And if 2 people need to fish on the front, it's fine. But we actually fished 3 people out of that boat quite a few times, and it's still just as stable. Like it worked perfectly fine. I mean, I'll always have a Jon Boat. I can say that for sure.
So you recently, it was like just I don't know, I guess a few months ago, you picked up the bass boat early this spring, right?
Yes, it was like March, like mid-March when I bought that. Yes, so I just came into a little bit of money and I was like, I think I'm gonna get a bass boat. Like I really want to do it, and I was heavily contemplating getting something new, getting something that was newer and used, or if I just wanted to find basically the cheapest thing that I could find that was 19 to 20 feet with either an Ultrex or power poles or both. And I was looking from Florida to Maine and out to Texas basically every day. I looked for like a solid month and a half, 2 months. And it isn't like, it's crazy how much of a seller's market it is for used bass boats right now. It's absurd. Like if you guys are looking to buy a bass boat, this is not the time to do it. It's rough. Like 1990s Rangers selling for $15,000. Like, oh my God, that's wild. But I stumbled across this one. I went and checked it out. And actually the day that I went to check it out, I was going to leave to pick up a Stratus down in South Carolina for like $11,000 or something. And it was, I think it was an 18-foot with a power pole and not Maxim.
Fortrex.
Fortrex, yes, thank you. And the gambler popped up. The guy said he had it with him and I could come check it out. It was like 20 minutes from my house. And I was like, I'm supposed to be leaving for South Carolina right now, but I'll come and check it out. So I went and looked at it. Looked good. Like, obviously needs some cosmetic work, but I wanted to give the motor a check. The Ultrex worked fine. And he was like, well, we can take it out right now if you want. So I said, yeah, let's do that. Went out and ran it. And I mean, dude looks over at me. He's like, ready? Yeah, dude, let's go. He stepped on it. And I mean, 70 miles an hour, probably. I was handing him the money across the boat. I was like, here you go, dude. Take it. Yeah, pretty impulsive buy for sure. Like, I hadn't even thought about if the van could tow it or not. It's like a 21-foot boat with a dual axle trailer. And I was like, I took care of all the payment. We got everything settled and straight. And he's like, all right, I'll help you throw it on your van. And at that moment I was like, damn, I really, really should have hooked it up and tried to tow it around a little bit just to see how it feels before literally giving this guy all the money and, doing everything. But I was very lucky and it was perfectly fine. And I've towed it around quite a bit. So
cool.
Feels good. And I've got
it's an older, you got a video on, it's like an older Gambler. What year is it?
Yeah, it's a 1990. It's older than me. It's so I'm 30. It's 31. I have no idea how many people have owned it. It's literally the worst possible boat someone could probably be buying, but I've been very fortunate and lucky. Like, I think this thing's been owned by like 5 or 6 people. I didn't check the compression. I didn't look at anything on the motor. I just went out and ran it and I was happy with it. And it actually all checked out. I took it to a guy here who specializes in 2-stroke motors. He goes,
how you don't buy a boat, people.
Yeah, do not do what I did. Absolutely. I just got extremely fortunate. I was, riding the heater. I got very lucky with it. So I only paid $5,500 for this boat, which right now is a pretty solid price.
Honestly, like, even if the motor was shot, the hull was probably worth, if the hull's in good condition, it's probably close to it. In the Ultrex, right? Like,
well, that was the thing. I was like, if the boat sinks and the motor doesn't work, at least I got a $2,800 Ultrex.
Terrible deal on Ultrex.
Yeah, I got a really bad deal on this Ultrex. But no, I don't know. I was really happy about it, and I've been very lucky with it. Like, the motor, again, I took it to get it fully checked out, like full maintenance, because the guy said that he hadn't taken it to a mechanic or anything like that in 3 years. So I was like, let's gamble. All the compression was great. Changed the lower unit oil out and did all of that stuff. And these are also things that I know I could do myself and I want to learn, but also with a motor that hasn't seen anything, I do not have that experience of knowing what to look for or what is a problem here. So I wanted to take it to someone who could give it a full rundown, get everything top notch, and then I'll take it from there, where any maintenance I need to do, I will learn on YouTube and do it myself. Any small cosmetic stuff I will do myself. I'll try to learn it. It's really like a boat I bought to learn about boats and to beat the piss out of. So I'm stoked on it.
Did you give it a name yet?
No, still haven't named it. I don't know if I will. It's just the Gambler. Unless
it's Kenny Rogers.
It's fun. That was probably that did come into my head the first time I saw it. I was like, I'll call this thing Kenny Rogers. But we'll see. We'll see if it sticks.
And you've put some sea deck into it, right? And some other things. You already started making some upgrades and kind of making it your own.
Yeah. So the boat actually came with HydroTurf on the front, and he didn't do the back deck. So it still had this probably 1990 blue carpet on the back with the new HydroTurf on the front and in the well. So I went ahead and did the back. He still had the same roll. He was like, I just didn't get to it. So I took care of that. I also basically replenished all the fiberglass on there. It had an old auto clear all over the boat, which was peeling. And I don't know if you've seen a boat like that, but it looks like a sunburn peel, and it was all over it. Like you could just pick it up. And so I spent probably close to 24 hours of just peeling all that auto clear off. And then took like a heavy compound, buffed it with that, and then waxed again. So probably close to 30 hours of like just bringing that gel coat back, but it looks really good. And I'm truly surprised how well it worked.
Yeah, like true sweat equity, like just elbow grease and sanding and rubbing and buffing. And
I realized how badly I probably need to start taking care of myself and going to the gym when I did that, because I mean, like after running that compound and wax down one side, it could take like 30 minutes, and it's pretty I don't want to say it's intense, but like, you know, you got to constantly work the drill, and I was like out of breath. Like, dude, my shoulders hurt. Yeah, my neck is killing me. What is going on here? But I'm happy I did it. It was very cool, and kind of like took the boat apart too, and kind of understood a little bit more about where everything is, where the wires are run, like any other small problems that I could find. So there's a lot more that I want to do with it. I definitely am going to have to like redo the whole console. It's still pretty old school, and I don't mind the old school look at all. It's just I need to make sure everything works, but definitely getting some good
December, January when it gets cold.
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing. It's I posted about that today. It's like a working progress boat. So like I can literally take it out right now. Every single piece of it works, but it's not pretty, and it's not 100%. So it's one of those things. It's like, do I want to sit at home and work on the boat and maybe edit a little bit, or do I want to go fishing? Like, I'm going to go fishing every time. So
you need a rainy day, or like a day where you've got like a half day obligation and it's windy, and you're like, well, I won't be able to record anything anyways today, so maybe I'll actually spend an hour on the boat today.
Yeah, for sure. And those were definitely the days that I have put into working on it. It's like super, super windy, or I needed to do something later in the afternoon, or whatever it may have been. But yeah, it's always the hard thing to choose of like what to do. Like, do I just go fish, or do I work on the boat? And it's always work on the boat or go fish.
My boat could definitely use some TLC too, and it's like I said, I just went on a 10-day fishing bender and didn't spend a minute of it working on my boat. I just went fishing with every spare minute I had. The grass got really long at the house. I don't know about major tournaments. I'm fishing a series with one of my buddies. I'm going to fish like the Bass Nation and TBF state tournaments. If one person drops out on the alternate for the divisional team from Minnesota, that I finished an ounce and a half out of making it. So there's always that hope that somebody drops out, but otherwise I guess nothing major. Where do you recommend looking for a bass boat? For me, at least, Sean, like I live in Minnesota, and our bass boats, even before the pandemic, in my opinion, are like outrageously priced. Like people are super proud of their used bass boats in Minnesota for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just the economy up here, or because they only fish in them for 3 months this summer, or what. But like, I've always found that if in Minnesota, and I would imagine Chicago the same way, if you're willing to drive to like Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, like you can find way better deals on bass boats if you're willing to drive 6-8 hours south of the upper Midwest. I don't know. That's my experience at shopping for used boats.
Definitely can back that up too. I definitely found quite a few down in that area that I was eyeballing. Probably the best deals for the boat and what was on it. Still expensive, but not too bad compared to everything else around here. That's for sure.
I think you got to get away from like, I mean, you're like still like DC and like Baltimore, and like you got to get away from Chicago, get away from Minneapolis, get away from New York, get away from like, go to the place where the big city is, like Lincoln, Nebraska, or Springfield, Missouri, or like it just seems to work out better. Brendan, honestly, I think most of our fish are post spawn. I was talking to Matt about this. Like, I saw fish on beds Monday and Tuesday last week, and I fished a couple tournaments on Saturday and been fun fishing every day. And I fished a tournament again last night, and it felt uber post spawn. It happens fast up here, so you might have already missed it, Brendan. To be honest, there might be another small wave on the new moon, but I think we're like on the backside of it a lot. Yeah, I would imagine West Coast is a big pain too. So, hope that answers your question, Brandon. It happens super quick. Like, honestly, our lakes in the metro Minneapolis here, it feels like 2 or 3 weekends and it's over. Best case. Like, they get up, they get down, and they're post spawn and they're back into summer. Like, our un-ice season is so short, they just have to do things so fast. Let's see here. Yeah, I've noticed that too, Kyle. Like, Florida, there seems like there's some good deals, but that's like the other side of the world from Minnesota. So, like, it has to be a really good deal if you're going to drive. You know, if I can drive 8 to 10 hours and find a good deal in Missouri or Arkansas versus driving 30 hours to Florida, I better save a whole lot more money to go to Florida. You know, use up that many more vacation days and that kind of stuff. So it depends on where you're at. Yeah, you definitely missed it, Brendan. Like, as they started up on Vermilion, which I fished a tournament there on the 17th, and I feel like that was the very start of it. They were pretty much full blown down in the cities when it just started up there. So nice. I got a 05 Classic too, Waze. It's a good boat. It's a fish catcher for sure. Hopefully you got an Opti and not an EFI like I do. That's the only drawback about mine is that I wish I had an Opti. But
what are the differences between those two motors?
So the big difference is that the EFI was a 2.5 liter, and when they went to the Opti, it was a 3 liter. So there's just a whole lot more low-end torque and like carrying power for like when you're fishing tournament loaded and you put talons on it and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it does. Like my EFI, the 2.5 doesn't carry the load. Like now that I've put 31 AGMs in it and I've put talons on it and 4,000 pounds of soft plastics and rods and everything else in there.
Okay, I gotcha. You said it was a 200, right?
Yeah.
How big is the boat?
A 19 foot. It's pretty light. It's like a 1,250 pound boat. So
that's not bad.
Oh, we've got 2008 Opti on it. Nice. So the guy repowered it. That's pretty sweet. I actually blew my motor up last spring, and I looked like this is not my like lifetime haul. I want to get something just slightly bigger. I mean, I don't want a 21 footer, but I want like something more like 19.8, 20 foot, 20, like just a little bigger because I have aspirations of fishing bigger tournaments. And I just want something slightly bigger. And so I really didn't want to like repower it. Like it wasn't my lifetime haul. And, great that somebody else repowered it before he got it. And you picked it up. That's a sweet deal. But like, I feel like if I was going to repower it, I wanted to find like something that was like 2010 or older. And there is just nothing out there. Like,
no,
you can't find a used motor that's worth a darn. That's not crazy expensive. So I ended up putting the new rebuilt power head on it.
Nice.
I thought we had it bad. 3 more weeks until season open. Oof.
Dang, where are you? Where is
that? In Ontario or something like that. I'm not aware of anywhere else that's this late. But where are you at, Michael? Yeah, there's certain 2.5s that are pretty good. Like my old boat, I had a 150 2FI Pro Max, and that really pushed that boat awesome.
$70.
I don't know. That doesn't seem. I mean, honestly, boats are expensive, crazy. Like, so I'm not going to say they're not.
2020. I feel like any brand new big boat.
I mean, is it like a non-current new 2020 or is it like a used 2020? I guess that would.
I don't think. I mean,
it'd be hard to believe there'd be a 2020 still sitting around the way boat inventory got depleted. So unless it's like the worst color combo ever, but but that's crazy. Like everything is like new, like stuff that's that new is scarce, right? And shortages. So whether it's a truck or a bass boat, like people are paying a premium right now. It's like you said, it's a seller's market.
Big time. Absolutely. You like have to find that deal and jump on it. And usually it's someone who just really needs to sell it.
I 26, the warranty doesn't 68. Are you loaded 68? I guess it depends. Do you have like pulls and that? I mean, my boat is not running right. When I first got my boat, I used to run low 70s and it doesn't run that anymore. So,
it's the 4,000 pounds of soft plastics.
I don't know. There's just something not quite. I don't know. Like trying to figure it out. And my tachometer stopped working, so I can't do the math to figure out the prop, and so I have to get that fixed. But I just keep fishing instead of getting the tack fixed because all the marine dealers are like 3 to 4 weeks out, and they want you to drop it off and let it sit there. And that's like that's a non-starter for me.
Well, one of the trips that we were on down in Florida. We were using Billy's boat. He was down there with me and our buddy Matt, and we could not get the motor to turn over one day. And we were troubleshooting it. None of us really know outboards well enough to, start taking things apart and being like, okay, well, it's this power pack, or well, it's the starter, or whatever it may be. So we took it to 3 different, maybe 4 different marinas that day down in Florida, and all of them were like, sorry guys, we're 4 weeks out right now and there's nothing we can do. Like the mechanics were still super helpful. They took some time to kind of give us some things to check and, like a checklist of things to go through, but no one could basically drop what they were doing and help us out that day, which I totally get. That's just how busy they are. They're still everywhere up here is like that too. Super busy.
Well, good luck tomorrow, Matt. Brand new white and blue. Yeah, I mean, if it's brand new, that doesn't surprise me. Like, I've watched a lot of the Team Supreme Marine. They do like these bass boat build breakdowns, like overpriced, undervalued, and 71,000 for a new 21 footer actually seems like the going rate. But
that's crazy.
I'm not saying. I mean, I think they're all overpriced, but.
Yeah. Do you have talons or poles on your boat?
I got 10-foot talons.
10-foot talons. Are you happy with them?
They're decent. They're a little loud. They're older. I mean, I like having them.
Yeah.
I like having them more than not having them. They probably need to be cleaned again. Like, I feel like I can hear one of them's got a little sand stuck in it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I do it. I like the simplicity of it. You don't need hydraulic lines. They don't take up space, especially in older boats like we have. They don't have like a ton of space for like.
Right.
Typically, you sacrifice storage in your back compartment to put hydraulic pumps in there, which is.
There's not that much storage to sacrifice in the first place.
Right.
For me, at least. Yeah.
Not a terrible plan, Tim. Not a terrible plan. Yeah, jumping on things quick is definitely. Well, my talons are used. Talons is what they didn't have Raptors when I put my talons on. I've had the talons for 5-6 years or whatever. I mean, if I was going to go buy new, I probably would buy Raptors now. Sam Sobey had Raptors. They seem pretty slick and quiet. Using them last night.
They look pretty sleek. Definitely a fan of them. I'm looking to get. Hopefully Raptors or power poles on the back of this Gambler at some point. Only thing that deters me from the talons is that I've heard they're a bit heavier.
Yeah, and the brackets that they're designed are like heavy, and I feel like they catch a lot of water. And so I think on a lighter hull, like a Bass Cat or a Gambler, they don't respond as well to having that extra weight right in the rear. And then the way the plates are designed, like they actually catch. So the further you sink in, the more those plates keep catching, and it's like this, like
it's just creating drag.
Yeah, you create basically a lot of drag.
Yeah, that is definitely something my boat does not need. I mean, it already sits like pretty ass heavy in the water, like it sits like that. So that's the last thing that I want to keep it very light back there. There's not even storage compartment back there for like a co-angler to keep his stuff. They put more storage up front to keep people to put stuff up there,
right?
Because they know they don't want any more weight in the back.
Yeah,
which is what I've read or learned a little bit about. It's pretty interesting to me. It's pretty cool. That boat has a lot of history, and it's definitely a lot of fun. I did forget to mention I have a new Jon Boat actually being built right now.
Yeah, I saw some of those pictures on your Instagram. I was going to ask you about that.
Dude, I linked up with a guy that's in Virginia Beach. He's probably an hour and change from me. His name is Matthew Downs, and he goes under the Tricked Tins Instagram name, where he basically pimps out these Jon Boats that are insane. I mean, some of the most beautiful builds that I've ever seen. And he reached out and offered to build me a new Jon Boat for help with promotion. And obviously, like, I was blown away by it. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, we definitely have to do something. Like, your work is awesome. And he is building right now like one of the sickest builds that I've ever seen. It's insane. And he worked with me a lot on the layout and like kind of things that I've liked in the past or seen, or things that I didn't like. And I mean, this thing's going to be completely wild. And I've also been somewhat spotty with the posts. Like, I don't want to show exactly how it's going to be, but I don't mind sharing it. The layout, it's going to be almost like the low stinger layout with the rod locker in the middle. So that way you're able to keep up to an 8'4" rod, which the only rod that I have that's bigger than that is the 8'6" swim bait rod, but it comes apart at the handle, so it'll still fit in there really well. Probably fit 20, 30 rods in there if you wanted to, and it's going to be very open and spacious. You have 2 storage compartments on either side of that, which are both sealed, completely dry, and they have the water channels going down with tubes leading into the bottom of the boat. The middle section, normally like where Ace and I keep a cooler for the tournaments that we fish, is going to be completely like boxed in, sidewalls, cup holder on the side, and then back bench is going to be the live well. The very back of the boat, battery compartment and gas tank, and then he's going to turf it, filled it with electronics, like a electronic panel in the front face, like of the deck. It's going to be definitely.
I don't know if I'm okay with you not having a cooler live well. I don't know if that's okay.
Like, I don't think Ace and I have lost a fish in the last 5 years that we've been fishing them, or I guess we've been fishing them.
How are you going to carry your fish to the weigh-in if you can't carry the cooler up there?
We're going to have to be lame and get like a weigh bag.
You're going to have to get like an Arsenal fishing weigh bag to carry your fish in like a peasant.
I know, man. It's going to be pretty bad. I think that, or we will just keep a cooler close, like in one of the trucks, and run up and grab it for weigh-in and fill it up and drag it up there. But the boat's going to be insane. So like over the top insane, something I could never do. But
sneak over to SBFishingTV on Instagram. You can see a few sneak peeks there, and looks like Mr. Nordby likes it. So there you go.
I made it.
You made it, bud.
I made it.
Let's see here.
If you check out his Instagram, you can see a lot more of his builds. And I did a quick Instagram video of what his latest build, which is just awesome. That was for a local angler, Chaz Carrington. He fishes all the opens and stuff like that, but he also fishes some of the smaller Jon Boat tournaments. Really good dude. I met him out on the James when I was practicing, hoping to get into the open. But yeah, his boat's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think aluminum bass boats have come a long ways in the last 5-10 years. Like, I think there's a pretty good business case, I mean, like between John Cox, Jeff Gustafson, Jason Christie, Bill Lowen, there's been a lot of tour level events won out of Expresses and Lunds and Crestliners this year. So I don't think you can argue the results.
I mean, it doesn't matter who's in that boat. You could put me in a brand new Phoenix and like one of these pros and my Jon Boat.
But I think it's not handicapping them. I guess that's the point. I'm not saying that the aluminum boat necessarily gives them sometimes it gives you an advantage, but obviously it's not putting them at a competitive disadvantage, right? When like there's been a significant amount of wins out of aluminum boats.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you there. And I think, I mean, they're so nice now at this point. Like, so what is it? Express that makes, I mean, those are insane. And Vexus, some of the newer Vexuses are beautiful boats. Like, I don't see anything wrong with competing in those.
I've been in the 18-foot Vexus now, although we spent most of the time. I mean, it was great to fish out of. It was an awesome fishing platform. We barely moved, so it's not like we really got to like rip around the lake and like it was dead calm. So can't give you really much like we weren't really challenging it from a performance standpoint. I will say that like maneuvering around the dock, it doesn't turn sharp like a glass boat. Like if you know what I mean? Like I'm sure you know, right? Like they just don't have that rear keel. They don't bite. Like you can't just like put your foot in the turf and make a quick pivot. Like so I did notice that hasn't really changed. But rock solid to fish out of. I would love to fish in one of these bigger 20, 21 foot Expresses, Crestliner, Vexus. I want to get in the bigger ones and like it'd be interesting because like my style of fishing is to fish a little shallower. Like I said, I don't want to get into a 21, 22 footer. I want to stay in that like high 19, low 20. I like to fish shallow. I like being a little more nimble. Like I'm not the kind of guy that wants a 22-foot Vexus or a Ranger, right? I want something that's a little more nifty, nimble, quick, speedy. You know, that's just more my style.
Yeah, you want that agile boats
are kind of like that.
Up in that shallow stuff. I like that. No, that makes a lot of sense.
My dad had a 19-foot Triton bass boat for a while, and it had some advantages, but you know that was like a generation or two ago. I did not love that boat. It was wet. It didn't do great in big waves. So I would be really interested to drive some of these newer boats because you know people say all the right things, but until I drive it myself, I don't know that you know I'm sold until I like do it myself. I don't know.
For sure. I mean, the other thing is like almost everything, whether it's in this industry or any industry for that matter, is going to be opinion based. Like you might absolutely love it, and then I could drive it and think this thing sucks. Like I do not want to fish out of this. There's so many things in this that are opinion, like just strictly opinion. I don't know. I would definitly be interested in fishing out of one. I wouldn't be opposed at all.
And talking to somebody that owns one that is not endorsed by the company.
No, not at all. And I fish out of both Jon Boat aluminum and a 30-year-old glass boat. Like, I mean, I do love fishing out of the glass boat just because I can rip around the lake or river at 75 miles an hour. I think it's awesome, but it's also just new. So
supposedly these new Expresses do low 70s. So like that's like if you can have all of that, that seems like a pretty sweet deal.
One thing that surprised me about the aluminum boats is that I thought that I figured that they would have been lighter, but they're actually pretty heavy. Like they're heavy boats. Mm-hmm. I think some of the ones I was looking at were in the 1,500 pound range. And that might have been boat and I don't think it was boat and trailer though. I think it really was just boat, but maybe it was both. Could be wrong.
Nice. So Michael said he's up in upstate New York, third Saturday in June, but don't you guys have a catch and release season up there? I thought you did. Maybe I'm wrong. Sycamore talking about his build. Looks like he's got a Bluetooth radio, everything you need.
Oh yeah.
I'm more of a Lulu short than a Lulu yoga pants guy, Sean. So, so Tim's got the X19. Nice, yeah. I definitely I would be interested in checking out one of these bigger. You know, I definitely want something bigger than 18. I wouldn't settle for anything less than 19. I want 19 to 20 foot. Cool. Dude, it's been 2 hours already.
Oh, dang, man, that's crazy. I didn't even notice that. That's wild. Yeah. I didn't even see the live ticker up in the left-hand corner. That's crazy.
That's how these things go. Like, you just hang out, you talk fishing. It's like just like we're hanging out at the ramp, shooting the breeze and talking fishing.
Hell yeah, that's what it's all about.
But why go bigger? Like I said, I just have there's a few tournaments I fish every year on bigger water where I feel like there's some limitations. Like Leech Lake in Minnesota, I could have gotten around a lot better and quicker and spent more time fishing in a 20-footer than I could in my boat. When I fished Pickwick at the national championship with the gas tank I have in my boat and an older motor that doesn't get as good a gas, I couldn't make the run that I maybe would have wanted. When I fished Oahe in South Dakota, there was no gas. Literally, even stopping, there was no place I couldn't fish as far away from the ramp as other people that were catching. So that's why there's just this 05 basket with the setup I have now is just a touch limiting sometimes in some of those bigger events. 90% of tournaments on the lakes I fish, I don't care. I like running around, quick on plane, no big deal. But just every now and then can be a bit limiting.
Those are all three very valid points that I've literally run into within the last month. Well, yeah. Leech Lake,
even your practice,
maybe not super valid.
Out of gas on the James River.
Yeah, so. Yeah, dude. Well, I did want to say I fished Leech Lake last year when we were up there for that muskie battle. The place is awesome. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's wild. So I can only imagine. One of the days we went out, it was pretty damn windy, and we're in one of my buddy's boats. It was like a 24-foot Ranger, like deep V though, or like a deeper V than a bass boat. So it wasn't as bad driving through it, but I couldn't imagine being in a 18 or 19-foot bass boat
with a nice south wind going across from Boy to the other side of the lake, right over the open.
That sounds about right, but man, we were getting rocked, and I was like, man, it's so nice being in this like bigger like St. Clair boat. We dragged it over with us, and I'm like, I'd be dead. And like I wouldn't have left the ramp in the Jon Boat, at that time. Like anything smaller.
I've had 19-foot bass boats up on Lake of the Woods. I've had them out on Lake Michigan. So I'm not worried about my safety, but like there's an efficiency. Right. Like when I have to drive 22 miles an hour, if I could be driving 40 in a bigger boat and still like not beating myself up, but like it saves you a lot of time.
Fair, very fair. And then I mean, obviously talking about the gas stuff, like you said, you couldn't make the run to where the fish are eating without running out of gas, and there's nowhere to fill up. That is exactly what I was doing that first day of practice. I was like, the boat's so new to me, I don't actually know how far I can run on one tank. So I just wanted to get out and run that boat basically as hard as I could, as fast as I could, run all the gases, like as much as possible, to see how many miles I could get out of one tank, which is probably close to 75 miles.
Sure.
But I would have made it.
Yes, I do. Like, unless it's a really deep, weird lake, I do think they're mostly post-spawn down here. After being on a 10-day fishing bender down here, I'm largely convinced of that. Roosevelt, I do believe I fished that one time. I do remember it being a pretty good lake. Should be good. Yeah, that's not bad. 19-foot express with a 200 hit 70. That's impressive.
I think 70 is plenty fast.
Yeah.
I think 60 is plenty fast, to be honest. It's nice to be able to go a little bit quicker, but I mean, 70 that's up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Big waters. Yeah. The driver is a ton of it. And I have all the confidence in the world to drive and not break my stuff in big water.
Not me at all, dude. I'm so new to it. I'm ready to just like lose all my shit at any given moment. But I think, yeah, that's very cool.
Cool.
Trying to get the seat time in.
Yeah, awesome. So for you guys that came late, go ahead and check out the replay. We covered a lot of good stuff. We talked about the boat builds, Matt's start. We talked a bunch about big baits, Jon Boats, all kinds of cool stuff. You can catch the podcast version if you search Hellabass in your favorite podcast app. Check out Matt's channel, SBFishingTV. There'll be a link in the description down below. if you can't figure it out. But he's pretty easy to find. He's got a pretty good sized channel. Anything else you want to talk about, Matt? Shout out anything coming up? People will tease maybe. What we can see coming up? Anything exciting?
Man, well, shout out to Tricked Tins on Instagram. Go check him out. He's building me what will be newest Jon Boat. Next year, definitely going to make a run at Fishing the Opens. Pretty excited for that. If you guys want to follow me on that journey as a complete noob trying to make a run at fishing huge tournaments,
nice.
Come check it out. I think it's going to be a good time. And shout out to Hellabass for having me on. Truly appreciate it.
Do it again sometime.
Yeah, it's been great. We definitely have to get out fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the super chat, Jon. Didn't have to do that. Much appreciated, buddy. That's awesome. And I guess we'll end it. Make sure you check out the codes from Omnia and Arsenal. Support the channel. But as always, if you guys want to continue to catch more big bass and suck less, subscribe and watch more videos.
Suck less.